It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
So, I watched that. Hold on a second. I watched that 1972 discussion, Is It Too Late? That was posted by Afro-Marxists. I don't know what's up with y'all with the Marxist shit and socialism shit and all this. I don't even know that triggers people, you know. But anyway, so I watched it all out, 1 hour and 38 minutes of it, and there's a couple things that I picked up on that stood out to me. Okay. First part was the black woman who was on the panel. I forget her name, but same talking point that was funny is a lot of the women that, you know, you'll talk to online in this gender war, you know, they make it sound like they came up with the idea, like it's like it was a revelation. I'm like, these women were talking about that shit back in the 70s. Now, she brought up the point about, you know, we're not going to have a matriarchy or whatever, and, you know, we got to, you know, come together for unity and all that stuff. And that was the same thing that I don't know if you saw that black and white video that I had. You know, remember with a black woman with the one who was talking the most sense was the one with the cornrows. And at the end, you know, she was like, you know, a lot of us don't like definitions because, you know, if we start defining things, you know, you may find yourself in a situation where you may have to live by, you know, the standards and the definitions that have been established, right? So, you know, in that clip, there was a woman, I think her name was Jones or something like that. You know, she was a racially ambiguous woman, and, you know, she was on some feminist stuff, and, man, I'm like, 1972, I'm like, okay, so, like, what was it, Miss Magazine or whatever it was? Would that come out, 1970? I don't know. I'm just saying, they had these women all fucked up with you know, feminism and shit. And it's like, I mean, they, like, looking back at it with 2020 hindsight, man, they did a lot of shit. Like, a lot of shit went down to end the civil rights movement. And it made me realize, even with all this shit going on right now, you got China doing their thing in the South China Sea. I had this revelation the other day. But anyway, you know, don't be surprised if Trump, you know, starts a war with Iran or starts a war with China, you know, to get away, you know, from, you know, this civil unrest that's going on. Because the parallels between the freaking 1960s and what's going on right now, I mean, it's like history's repeating itself. I mean, even when I went back and David Hoffman posted that video about, you know, what was the title of the video? Something like, we discussed George Floyd, you know, back, you know, in the 1960s or whatever, 60 years ago. And he has a clip of, and I realized in this 1972 video, it's the same person. What's his name? Albert Cleage, Reverend Albert Cleage, right? Which I'm like, I like him. I like how he talks. No bullshit. Get to the point, right? What's funny is he's a reverend, but I'm like, yeah, you're a reverend that you can't shut your brain off. You know, he talked about, you know, getting out the clouds and getting on the ground and doing stuff and whatnot. But I'm saying he had the same conversation back in the 60s, talking about police brutality. And it's the same shit. The cops were saying the same shit cops say today. The black people were saying the same shit, that black people are saying today, back then. That, all the cops want to do is gaslight. There's a whole bunch of denial, right? They want to talk about how, the blacks, they're committing all the crime, just completely ignoring the fact that, America, is this system that wasn't designed for them and was set up, to where you got black people in poverty. So there's going to be more crime there, right? But then that gets to be used against the black people, right, who are byproducts of prolonged exposure to poverty. And, we go into all that. And then you end up with the situation where it's like black people who are in poverty are committing crimes against other black people. And then it's like, oh, white man, come save me from the other black people that are committing crimes. Then when the white man comes in there and starts busting people over the head and, will be excessive and kill somebody, then the black people scream foul. Like, it's all this like shit. It's like, each side can find its angle to wiggle out on, right? But there's the things that stuck out is the whole matriarchy feminism shit, the idea that the black women are they're trying to get their own liberation as women. They're joining forces with the white women, which is basically what this woman said, and talking about white allies and stuff, and then trying to get away from them being oppressed. And I'm like, being oppressed by who? The system of patriarchal male oppression, or your own black men who are fighting for their own liberation, right? But then on the other side, right, so it was a couple brothers up there, right? So Mr. Cheeks, Dr. Cheeks, he was married to, that's a funny name, right? Dr. Cheeks, he was married to a black woman, found the images, found the pictures, all that shit. Dick Gregory, we know he was married to a black woman, right? The darkest nigga on the panel, what was his name? What was the darkest dude on that fucking panel? I don't know, most dark-skinned dude on the panel. What was his name? Vernon something. He on the panel. I was like, I bet this nigga's married to a white woman. And go online, lo and behold, bam, married to a white woman. Was an advisor underneath Bill Clinton. I was like, oh, there it is. Married to a white woman. And I'm saying, what made me say that? Not just the fact that he's dark skinned. I was like, yeah, that brother's so dark. He probably do got some self-hate tendencies. But his whole demeanor, the way he talked, the way he carried himself and everything, I'm like, I don't know how shit was going on in the 70s, but I was like, I just don't see sisters going for that. I just don't. So it's like, I can't entirely blame him, right? But then you had what's his name from Newark, Imari Baraka or something like that. So then I go, I'm like, nah, not this brother, right? So I go and I'm looking, I'm like, find his wife. He married a Jewish woman and her family disowned her. I'm like, really? I'm like, the most Afrocentric dude on the fucking panel is married a Jewish woman? I said, oh man, I was like, not a good look. And see, this goes back to that fucking years ago when Calvary made his video and thought, everybody thought it was a cool video until some sisters pointed out. It was like, yeah, it looks like y'all motherfuckers was fighting for integration so that y'all could go out here and marry some white bitches. I'm like, oh shit. Then, Albert Cleage, with all the shit he be talking, as light skinned as he is. I found a picture of his father, who was a brown skinned man, I'm gonna say dark skinned man, but a very brown skinned man. And he just came out looking albino as fuck. But I'm saying, I'm like, Albert, and then I found a picture of his daughter, Pearl, you know what I mean? And then his granddaughter, and then whatever, he's got a granddaughter. And I couldn't really find a picture of her. I don't know if she acts or something like that, but there was some picture that looked like the granddaughter could have been an actress. But I'm saying his daughter, damn near a fucking white woman. You know what I mean? So that hitting me off. I was like, okay, nigga, you light skinned. And I'm like, but if you got with a black person or a black woman, your daughter would have some color. Nope. Daughter, she looking damn near like a white woman. So I was like, oh, this nigga went off and got with a white woman. So then I go and I find, bam, Doris. So he went and linked up with Doris, which, again, I don't know what her specific ethnicity is, but I'm saying, looks like a white woman to me. And I'm like, this dude is up there. Cleage be talking reckless about the system of white supremacy. And I'm saying, everything he's saying is spot on, but I'm like, you see how you get compromised? You see how, like, you really look kind of stupid, talking all type of crazy and going hard in the paint, and you got Becky and Susie on your arm, like, and then you got mixed kids, or you're mixed yourself. Like, I'm telling you, a lot of the lightest skinned motherfuckers be going the hardest in the paint against the system of white supremacy. Now, we already talked about why that is because a lot of white people and even other non-black people say a lot of fucked up shit about black people when they think they're in good white company. When they think they're in good white company, oh man, they talk crazy about black people. And so light-skinned people, being the double agents that they are, or the biracial people, whatever you want to call it, a lot of them, they don't like that shit. They don't like that shit when people, and so they look at dark-skinned black people like, y'all be wanting to be white people and got all this self-hate and inferiority complexes and everything else, and you be putting white folks on a pedestal at the same time. You simultaneously can't fucking stand them, right? But it's like, okay, why are y'all out here, fucking kissing white people's ass? Like, the light-skinned people always seem to be the ones that be going super hard in the paint when it comes to, hating on white people and really calling out white people's shit, because again, they got those white in-laws and shit like that. They know how they really feel and see and experience a whole bunch of stuff that a dark-skinned person isn't necessarily going to experience, because a lot of white folks, they're not they see that brown skin and they immediately shut it down. They're like, oh, I want to set these niggas off. But when they get around them light-skinned black folks, or folks that they think is something else, or they think more readily identify with them, especially if they got shit like hazel or green eyes. A lot of white people be saying some fucked up out of pocket shit about black people and thinking that shit flies. So I've noticed that shit over the years. A lot of the light skinned people, when you look at the civil rights movement, a lot of light skinned men, in the ranks, and they, wasn't fucking with white people. But what I also noticed is a lot of them, they didn't fuck with dark-skinned black women either. I'm just saying. It's like the light-skinned dudes, they either stayed with light-skinned women or racially ambiguous women the same as they are, or they went white. Ain't none of them that I'm seeing were out there messing with a dark-skinned woman. Just saying. And then when it came to the dark-skinned men, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, who you with? And, you got these brothers up there. Again, I could offset it with Dick Gregory and Mr. Cheeks. Both of them, were with black women. But I'm like, again, y'all black, y'all brown and dark skin. And it's the 1960s, and then come to find out you married a white woman in 1958. And I'm pretty sure, the whole cultural, racial, whatever, like, tore them apart. But I'm just saying, like, they be up there. My man's got the Hotep necklace on and all this other shit. And I'm like, but you was with a Jewish girl? Again, I don't really give a shit about interracial dating. I'm just saying I do recognize how much that undermines and compromises, the level or the degree to which you can talk shit. You know what I'm saying? Or how much energy you can put into it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just kind of like, that kind of threw me off with the panel. I was extremely disappointed by Elijah Muhammad. Extremely disappointed. I was like, this the Godfather? I'm like, this the person that made Malcolm X or Farrakhan? You know what I mean? I'm like, the person that can barely speak, is the person that created the prodigies that are the speakers. I'm like, this don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Because the only idea I have of Elijah Muhammad is what I saw in 1992 with, Malcolm X and Spike Lee's movie, Malcolm X, right? But, which Which, by the way, looking back at it, I'm like, the actor did a pretty damn good job of imitating Elijah Muhammad, because that's exactly how he fucking sounds. You know what I mean? But I was not impressed by. He was entering coon territory. He got up there talking about how and the white people, and they treated me so good, and they did not disrespect me and put me down. I'm like, okay, you want to you want to like stroke the white people anymore, motherfucker? Like, damn. You know what I'm saying? So again, not impressed. I thought he was going to, everybody was silent, like God was going to get up on the microphone, and I'm listening to Elijah Muhammad. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Now, maybe it was because he was old at that point. I don't know when Elijah Muhammad died. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he was old at that point. I don't know. But I'm just like, man. And then on top of it, real talk, that whole thing with getting with the underage girls, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying Malcolm X said it before he died. You know what I'm saying? That was like a father to him. You know what I mean? People can sit there and, try to, the man said it. The man died in saying it. The fucking Nation of Islam split apart because, they were afraid that people are going to leave and go and follow, Malcolm X, and many of them did. You know what I mean? But the FBI was in there trying to foster, animosity between Farrakhan and Malcolm X and all that shit. And, Farrakhan went out there and wrote papers with Malcolm X with his head chopped off with horns coming out of it. Oh, I know the whole history. And then you got, Khalid Muhammad. He walked away from the Nation of Islam. And he was talking some real shit. That skit that he did when he was giving one of his last speeches, and he was talking about, motherfuckers talking about, hey sister, where you going? Oh, I'm going to the toilet, inshallah. Like, that shit was cracking me the fuck up, But anyway, so people grow in their own time and whatnot. But I'm just saying, I'm like, I don't know what happened. It's like all this stuff came in, right? So you got the civil rights movement. They were doing the leaders is getting assassinated or got assassinated. Then they come in with feminism. Then they come in with the Vietnam War. So you got all that shit going on in the background. And then the 70s came. Everybody's talking all this integration shit. I think that's when really a lot of, they took out the Panthers, and then they came in and all the black intellectuals, going back to that, Trick Baby episode, that 1970, what was it, 74, Trick Baby episode, where, they had the two white men sitting at the table talking about how to neutralize the blacks, giving all those black intellectuals jobs and position. Like I said, Vernon, what was his name? I don't know what his name, the dark skinned dude. I pull up pictures. This motherfucker all hugged up, booed up with Bill Clinton. I'm like, oh, okay, nigga, where was you when Bill Clinton was signing all these crime bills, right? Now I understand it's a little bit more complex when it comes to the crime bills because, a lot of shit was going down in 1994, from 1986 to 1994. A lot of violence, a lot of shootings. That was one of the areas in which, the black elders lost control of the black youth. They didn't have jobs for them. Then the CIA came through and dumped a whole bunch of drugs in the black community with the Iran-Contra and Oliver North, who I misspoke and said that he was the director of the CIA. No, Bush was director of the CIA. Oliver North was like some sort of advisor or some shit like that, but his ass went to jail, and then his sentence got vacated, and then when Bush became president, a lot of other people that were affiliated with the Iran-Contra thing, they got pardoned. So again, justice was not served. Scandalous type shit, right? So this is what happened. And then you get the 90s coming in, gangster rap. The drug game is still going. The culture drastically shifts because now you're talking about 2 to 3 generations of people in poverty from 1972, from this conversation. And then obviously, shit just gets progressively worse. Joblessness, single mothers, drugs, poverty, gun violence. I mean, it just, shit just went crazy, and, I mean, it's like, if you've ever looked at like the South Bronx in the 80s, or even in the early 90s, like, that shit was fucked up. It looked like somebody flew over that bitch and dropped a bomb. Literally. People can say what they want about Giuliani, but he cleaned all that shit up. All that shit with the coin, they had these like what do you call that shit? The peep shows, the quarter peep shows and shit. You go in there and fucking look at, the curtain opens up, there's some bitch, dancing naked and shit, or whatever they had, undies, lingerie, whatever, and then the curtain would close and you had to put another quarter in. Motherfuckers be in there, Giuliani got rid of all that shit. So, people can say what they want. I'm not a big Giuliani fan, but I'm saying, he did clean up the downtown areas and whatnot, so that, people could, want to be in the city and want to live in the city and turn it into, what, New York was before fucking COVID hit. I'm like, look, man, the conversations we're having now, the people already had these conversations. The generations before us already, all that stuff about power. I mean, Albert Cleavage, Cleage or whatever, he was killing it about the power, and the institutions don't have any power, and that's the whole problem. Again, the same money conversation. It being all about the fucking money. And then, the whole civil rights shit is, it's just total bullshit, because they come through with this minority this and minority that. No, the whole civil rights movement was specifically supposed to be about black people. Period. That's the people who are being discriminated against. And you got motherfucking Arabs and Indians and fucking Apu and Asian people and all these motherfuckers showing up in the 80s and the 90s, and literally taking on all the advantages and riding the coattails of black people that they have no fucking respect for. It's nuts. But and I remember, I think it was Thug Titian said it. Thug Titian said when he came online that he was really hoping that, these conversations would take off where the civil rights movement ended. Because that's when shit got fucked up. And it didn't. We got into the gender war. We got into all that shit. Now, look what's being brought into the room. Now it's LGBT and transgender, and you need to like some man butt, and now it's all lives matter, and all freaking different. All these little different faction groups and self-interest groups, and then like black people still did not get their slice of the pie. You know what I'm saying? What the whole civil rights movement was about, the shit still was not corrected. And what's so crazy is all these black people up there talking about self-sufficiency and self-reliance and independence and everything else. Like, this is why white people are full of shit with their goddamn smoke screens. Because they sit there and they talk to today's black people and they're like, you need to pull yourselves up by the bootstraps, some personal responsibility. All the black people back then were talking about personal responsibility. But see, the caveat is if black people take on that personal responsibility, you can't control them. And it's always been about fucking control. And so it's just like that white guy got into an argument years ago. He was like, my father says that the problem with black people is y'all don't take care of your own community. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. We need to take care of our own community. I agree 100% with your father, which means we need our own institutions. We need our own banks. We need our own supermarkets. We need our own businesses. We need our own hospitals. Oh man, as soon as I went into saying all that, he was like, wait a minute. That sounds like reverse racism. I was like, reverse racism? I was like, oh, ain't this a bitch? So, in other words, you want me to handle my own business, but then when I go to handle my own business, when you recognize that you'll be excluded, then you scream reverse racism. When the reality is the only reason that I'm out here trying to, do for self is because, you said that, we're all God's children, we're all Americans and everything, but it doesn't play out like that. So when black people don't have their own shit, white people say, well, nigger, you need to get your own shit. Then when black people get their own shit, white people jump up and scream, oh, reverse racism. So the white people try to keep black people in this perpetual box of we don't want you to have your own shit, because if you have your own shit, we can't control you, right? But we do want you to have your own shit because we don't want you using our shit. And I'm like, well, which one is it, motherfucker? Like, damn, you want me to have my own shit or not? The fuck, right? Not that we should even care about what the fuck they want. It should be about what the fuck we want. But I'm just saying, like, white people are full of shit as it pertains to, the idea and concept of black empowerment. Just for black people, I don't even talking black empowerment like we want to go out there and have a race war. No, they want to be able to control both ends of the conversation. They want to be able to control both ends of the situation. They do not want to have a situation where black people are in the position to saber rattle. Where black people be able to say, nah, well, fuck you, or no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I'm focusing on my own self-interest, or what. They don't want black people in a position to do it. And see, the white people that understand power and want to maintain the system of white supremacy, they get that. These other dumbass white people that are like your everyday working class white people, like, they get triggered by the superficial bullshit. They get triggered by like these stupid ass ideas of baseball and America and what it is to be a patriot and all that Fox News shit that moves all the dumbasses. The moo-ha-ha white people, those white folks, what I'm saying? Those are the ones that understand, we would rather have black folks be independent than having them be independent and not in our hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's what they're willing to deal with. It's like the exchange. It's like we're being put in the bitch position. It's like, yeah, they want to be in control, and they're like, well, okay, well, this is the cost of being in control. The cost of being in control is having to deal with this inconvenient population of the niggas and having to deal with the poverty and everything else. We'd rather deal with that and mass incarceration and building prisons and all that other stuff. And stupid thing is, your average working class, everyday white person doesn't fucking get it. You know what I'm saying? They sitting there talking about welfare and all this other shit and the black man is breathing up all the white man's air and the welfare and shit like that. I'm like, they're taking more money from you through the fucking prison system, because you're the ones paying for the fucking prison system. Right? They go, oh, we're going to lock niggas up. We're going to put them in jail. We're going to gerrymander the fuck out of them and count them towards the Republican shit. But, all they get to do is extract resources from the white population. They extract resources, and say, oh, we got to fund the prisons. And then you come to find out that all these senators and congressmen, and whatnot got stocks in the prison. Like, y'all saw that congresswoman that when with the whole shit with the stock market, she dumped all her stocks, right? Inside trading, again, in group and out group, right? There's levels to the shit, different levels of class and all that other stuff. This is what goes on, you see. But like, you can't get white people to understand the aspects of class. They will not understand it. You can't get them to understand it. They get caught up on the superficiality of the race discussion and blacks versus whites and da-da-da-da. So much so that they always ignore the people who are not only fucking everybody over, but really fucking them over. When you want to talk about the 2009 financial collapse and fucking, all these CEOs and executives flying down with their golden parachutes and flushing your 401k down the toilet and the equity in your home going to nothing, and all this shit with, the rich, wealthy people getting richer. Like, that's not black people. You know what I'm saying? When COVID fucks everything up, and you get some billionaire that comes through and buys up, the pieces of a corporation and sends you a fucking pink note or a pink slip or whatever. Like, y'all don't it doesn't click with these white folks out here. They don't get it. They stay too busy focused on the powerless group, because the powerless group, the group that has always had nothing in this country, is bitching about their condition. And the white elites have done a marvelous, masterful job at fostering that sort of division. That sort of, all of you are getting crumbs. You know what I mean? But we're going to make sure that you all focus more on fighting over the crumbs with each other, as opposed to anybody focusing and looking at us. So we got to push all these fucking narratives. White people, the blacks are coming for your shit, and they're undermining America, and Colin Kaepernick is disrespecting the troops and all that other shit. Donald Trump comes out and says that, the troops are a fucking bunch of losers, which is totally in his fucking personality to say some bullshit like that. And, it's crickets. It's crickets. That's why I say white people are fucked up. Like, they're fucked up. Black people have legitimate grievances and a legitimate struggle that has been going on forever. White people, on the other hand, they really believe like their own shit. Like, it's mind numbing how they believe their own shit. And the crazy thing is, the white people that believe their own shit aren't even at the top of the totem pole. Like, they don't even recognize how they've been convinced to believe the shit that they believe, that isn't even, it's not even serve their best interest, right? And I know Mr. Falkman, the biracial, he's going to come in here, he's going to tell me about how fucking, again, because the light-skinned people and the biracial people, they know, because they got one fucked up white parent, and they know how fucked up they are, and they know how they view shit. You got these white folks out here that they'll get with a black person, but think lowly of the entirety of the black race. They're just like, I like you, but I don't care for your fucking people. That's how white people will get down. They will marry you, they will pop out them kids, all that shit, but they'll still look at the collective of black people like, oh, they ain't shit. But you're okay. You, as an individual, you're okay. But, fuck the rest of, all these other people. I don't fuck with them. I'm just tired. Like, I'm tired and I'm disappointed, because I'm like, okay, if this shit is just a time loop, and this is what's going to happen every 40, 50 years or so, and ain't nothing going to get changed. I mean, it's like, Cap and I, we were talking about this, when it comes to the gun shit. All these white folks, they out here, Blue Lives Matter. NYPD is out there supporting fucking Donald Trump, right? Because Donald Trump is supposedly pro-cop. But also Donald Trump claims to be pro-Second Amendment. The NYPD is the most anti-Second Amendment police department there is in America. And you got all these white people with guns running out there screaming, back to blue, Blue Lives Matter and shit. Let me see you take your motherfucking 6.5 Creedmoor rifle into fucking New York and see if your ass doesn't get arrested and your life doesn't get ruined. If you don't believe me, go ask that guy that freaking got off at, LaGuardia or JFK in New York, that was from Utah and was going on some sort of hunting trip, and he lost his rights. And so the reality is that them guns, and this is why black people, I don't know why they take this position. Well, see, the white people, they racist, and their guns is actually for us. They're not for fighting tyranny, and you're 100% right. Because you would think if it's actually for fighting tyranny, that they would actually, and they're fearful of a tyrannical government, that they would want as many armed black men as possible who would join them in the fight against tyranny. But no, they see the government as, again, it's their system. It's their government. They got all this balance of power. The crazy thing is white people are a bigger threat to other white people, because white people are savages to each other. If you don't believe me, I direct you to the Wikipedia page of all the European wars and all the battles that white people were fighting with each other over land and territory. That's why black people, I'm like, you can't play with these people. They savages. You can't fucking play with them. They ain't playing with you. Fuck, they don't even play with each other. You see? So when they talk all this shit about the guns in a second, yeah, that shit's for you. And I'm saying, as long as you can exercise the Second Amendment right, why the fuck don't you? Why the fuck don't you? If it's gonna be the purge and they gonna try to purge black people, again, fucking, have what you need. Protect your motherfucking self. That's what I understand about black folks. I'm not trying to take white people's guns away through the laws and the courts and all that other shit, because I'm gonna have my shit regardless. Regardless. They want to get stupid, we can get stupid. But this whole approach about, we're going to pass laws and make sure that white people don't have guns, so because we know that those guns are really for us. Yes, and you are right. Those guns are really for us. Because white people have that fear baked into them that black people are out for revenge and we're going to do unto white people as white people have done unto us. That is their basic reptilian brain fear. And so that's how they fucking operate. All this shit about, we support the cops and all that crap is bullshit. Again, the police officer is the enforcement arm of the system of white supremacy. And as long as they're keeping the niggas in check, white folks are happy and content with law enforcement. Okay? It makes absolutely no sense. It is a contradiction. It is an oxymoron for them to walk around talk about, we back the blue, we support the blue, and NYPD, we love you, and all that shit. And those cops, whether the cops in California, whether the cops in basically any blue state, look at the gun laws in blue states. And those same cops are the same cops that go out there and enforce those fucking draconian ass gun laws. And throw people in jail and ruin their lives because they had one extra bullet in the magazine. You know what I'm saying? But when those cops is, challenging black people, them white people, they co-sign. High five, officer. Oh yeah. But then, again, you start talking about them enforcing draconian laws, man, they talk about them cops like they fucking dogs. James Yeager, pack your bags all day. They talk about them like they're dogs. The tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It's white people all day. It's fucking nuts. And most of these people, they ain't gonna bust a grape in a fruit fight. There's more white people out here that got more to lose than any black person in fucking America. And most of them ain't about to give up their liberty and their freedom, for that shit. You saw what happened to the Clive Bundy dude. The government ain't nothing to play with. But it's just, if everybody's just going to be low IQ and emotional as fuck, and if that's what it's going to be, across the board, I'm all for black people getting what they deserve. White people keep kicking the can down the road. Fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Black people, we just want you to shut up, because we're not giving you shit. We're going to make it. I'm like, well, what you see is what you get. This shit, this turmoil, this civil unrest, that shit's not going to go away. Because people just keep kicking the can down the road. They don't want to deal with the fucking problem. They didn't want to deal with it during Reconstruction. They didn't want to deal with it during the Civil Rights Movement. And they don't want to deal with it today. So I don't know what's going to happen. Either black people are going to get purged, or black people are going to leave and go back to Africa, or there's just going to be, just constant fucking civil unrest. Until the issue is solved. Like I said, that fucking dog versus wolf video, man, that wolf was not having it. That wolf saw unfairness and was like, fuck the button and the plank it came on, bitch. Fuck you. She's sitting there going, press. That dog ripped that motherfucking button off. So I totally understand the sentiments of black people that out here want to tear shit up. I don't think that black folks is going to be allowed to do that shit indefinitely. You know what I mean? I believe that white folks is going to protect their businesses and rightfully so. It's like there's no right or wrong in this situation. I'm looking at it for what it is, but hey, I'm like, you don't want to deal with the problem. You don't want to keep kicking the can down the road. I'm like, this shit is just going to continue to be a fucking problem. And unfortunately, there will be many random fucking casualties, of war when it comes to this shit. One side goes and does, one lone wolf or some person does some random shit, to the other side, and the other side goes and retaliates. Just random shit. People that ain't got, people just living their lives, that's what it'll be. Cause, motherfuckers that go off on that lone wolf shit, they always want soft targets. They don't want to take the smoke where it needs to be taken. You know what I'm saying? But, I don't know, man. This shit is, between Trump trying to kick off a fucking war, and even with these white folks, out here, because I was thinking about, the shit with the Kyle Rittenhouse, which I still say is self-defense. Y'all can say what you want. It was self-defense. Motherfucker had a gun. Rosenbaum was chasing him, and I'm like, what genius level must you have to sit there and chase a man with a rifle and think that you're going to come out victorious? You know what I'm saying? That's natural selection right there. That's all I got to say about that. But in terms of, Kyle Rittenhouse and him having a gun out there, I'm looking at the shit like all this stuff with all this civil unrest. Oh, yeah, they're going to come through and, try to, take away everybody's guns and ban this and ban that, because what people really aren't seeing, and this is another thing that Cap and I were talking about, the reason why they want to take everybody's guns away, real talk, it ain't got nothing to do with the current situation, the civil unrest, with the whole what's your favorite color, like which side or which team you want. No, it's coming down to the fact that they ain't gonna be creating any jobs. The job market is fucked. If you want to talk about fixing the inner city and poverty and stopping all the gun violence in the inner city, you got to talk about some jobs. If you want to talk about, fixing the shit with the family structure, I see all these white people that come through and they want to tell you about the sweet twinkle of Jesus and the Lord and Savior and God and all this other stuff. And we have to bring morality back in the White House and all this other shit. Morality ain't going to do a fucking thing if you don't have some gainful employment for these young men, white, black, or otherwise. Period. This is math. And y'all sitting there talking about, if you get this Bible, and you ask them people in Appalachia who aren't working in the fucking coal mines right now that were supporting their family. Ask them how much that white Jesus Bible is working for them. That shit is nothing but a mechanism, a coping mechanism, a mechanism to soothe you and make you feel good about not solving the problem. When your problem can only be solved by money. And being gainfully employed and being able to support your family. If you can't do that, you ain't got nothing. So, you get these white people, they think they saying something profound by coming in the room and telling me about white Jesus and how they need the Lord and all this other shit. You need to go to church, and they ain't got nothing to do with it. Let whatever job you have disappear, and white Jesus is not going to hold you over. Y'all think that shit is fucking all powerful, and it's not. Hell, if it was, white people would have never given Christianity to some black Africans in the fucking first place that they were trying to conquer. I mean, point blank. Like I say all the time, I don't pay attention to what white people give black people. I pay attention to what they deny us. And what they deny us is they deny us access to resources, capital, and opportunities. That's what they deny us. And firepower. That's what they deny us. They say, you can have here black people that we're trying to oppress, you can have all the white Jesus in the world, which lets you know off top, it's bullshit. Since when does the oppressor give the oppressed anything that empowers the oppressed? Sick of motherfuckers coming through and always want to tell you about Jesus and religion and God and Christianity and the Lord Almighty, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. From the fucking Quran to the fucking Torah to the Bible, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You know, and again, I'm telling you, you ain't got no gainful employment for these young men. They will cannibalize the community. They will cannibalize the society. They will go out here with escapism. Shit, I think, hell, they might have allowed with the Sackler family to dump all these opioids into the white community in trying to reduce the population. Not just with black people. I mean, reduce black people. Black population already being reduced with the gun violence and shit like that. Gun violence, prostate cancer. I mean, whatever you want to name it. You know, all type of ills, diabetes, hypertension. You know, all that shit. The white community, it ain't dying off fast enough. Oh, we gotta do something. There's no jobs. What do we gotta do? I don't know. Reduce the population. Instead of creating more jobs, reduce the population. Oh, what do we do? I don't know. Opioids. Okay. Oh yeah. You know, because when people are out of work, they're looking for an escape. You know. Oh, yeah, give them opioids. Well, opioids, nah, you know, we need something stronger. Or, you know, heroin overdose, they got high tolerance. Put some fentanyl in it. Yes, that'll work, yeah. This new fentanyl-laced heroin. Yeah, so we get rid of the riffraff because we only want, you know, certain people, you know, here. We only want certain people to exist, blah, 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 right? Only the smart and the educated. If you're doing drugs, you're fucked up. We don't want you in our society. You know, white people really swear up and down like shit like that can't happen to them. You know what I mean? They swear up and down that the white elite, oh, they love us. We're white too. I'm like, no, you're peasants. If you don't believe me, go look up the Latimer Massacre, look up the Ludlow Massacre, look up the Homestead Massacre, and look up the Memorial Day Massacre. Oh, that was cops. You should see the black and white video. Oh, the cops, they shot into the crowd, they shot a man, and they was beat. That was white on white. That was the police officers that y'all claim that you love so much, that are all for being the enforcement arm of the system of white supremacy and don't actually work for the white elite. I mean, the shit is fucking hilarious. You know, but I mean, dealing with all these low IQ people out here, like they don't get what I'm saying. It goes over their head. There might be only a handful of white people listening to me right now and saying to themselves, well, shit, this nigger's got a point. I've never thought about it like that. If you really want to dive deep, go read a book, even though people say it's an anti-Semitic book and all this other shit. But what was it called? The Unseen Hand. By Ralph, I think it's Epperson or Eberson, right? Isn't that a Jewish name? I don't know. But anyway, you know, that's a good book. That, you know, that talks about that whole power that when he gets to the part about the Catholic Church and how much land the Catholic Church actually owns and oh man, I mean, it's just like, bro. It's all about the money and power and shit like that. And then when you look at the shit with the media, which I'm glad people are calling out the media, but they're only calling out the media on the side that they don't like. They're not calling out the media as a whole. Like the people that are like, it's the media, you know, they'll sit there, they'll say it's the media and then just say it's the left, but then won't say like Fox News be on its shit. You know, and the people on the left will do the same thing. You know, I'm like, okay, but you know, what about the leftist media? Oh no, the only problem with the media is Fox News. You know, I'm like, okay, you're not thinking. You know, but this is, you know, I mean, you know, as it pertains to black people, you know, as a black person who's concerned about, you know, the condition of black people in America, you know, it's like, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like, it seems like we fail to, you know, get the ball rolling. And I don't even know how you do it without, you know, as we've talked about, the white middle class was created. You know, the Homestead Act, I mean, it was just a big fat land giveaway. You know, you talk about, you know, access to capital. Black people were denied that. And then when they had their own communities, when they were existing underneath, you know, segregation and Jim Crow, you know what I mean? White people, they sit there and all these black people, they're working together and get jealous and burn that sucker down to the ground. You know, so all this talk about, you know, oh, well, black people, they ain't never built nothing. How do you burn down some shit that black people never built? How the fuck does that happen? You know, again, whether it's Elaine, Arkansas, Omaha, Nebraska, Springfield, Illinois, you know, freaking summer of 1919, Chicago, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Florida, insurrection of 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina. You're right, Columbia, Tennessee, 1946, the Detroit, 1943. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Those are just the ones I can remember off the top of my head. If you want to discover some more, all you gotta do is go on Wikipedia. Most of them are there. I don't know why black people don't prepare. Like, when you want to argue with white people, have some goddamn receipts. Stop going in there with just feelings. It's the same way I feel about these white people with the Second Amendment. They always go in there and they're, it's like, okay, well, why do you need an AR-15? And I agree with having an AR-15, but I'm like, okay, articulate why you believe that we should, people should have an AR-15. And this is these motherfuckers' response. Because it says shall not be infringed. I'm like, oh my God, man. I'm like, that's it? That's all you got? That's all you got? Shall not be infringed? Like, bro, you gotta come harder than that. You gotta come with more than just shall not be. Really? That's all you got? It says right there, shall not. What don't you understand about shall not be? Go into any gun video and go in the comment section and you will find at least one or two white people that will be in there and that types, it says shall not be infringed. What don't you understand about shall not be infringed? And they leave that shit like, number one, it's their own thought, and number two, like, they said something profound. It's the most hilarious shit. Go ahead, test my theory. Go into the comment section, and this is what you will find. It says shall not be infringed. What don't you understand about that? I'm like, dude, how many times are y'all gonna say the same shit over and over again? You can't even articulate why you need an AR-15. I mean, come on. I'll throw one at you because it's the most effective tool that I can buy for self-defense. Bam! There you go. It's the most effective tool that I can buy for self-defense. Why do I want an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine as opposed to a fucking shotgun? Because I don't want to be fumbling over fucking shells. That's why. And in the shotgun, I only get maybe 7 shots at most, unless I got a Kel-Tec. You know what I'm saying? A double-barreled Kel-Tec. Or double-tubed, not double-barreled. The double-tubed is that DP-12, which is, I don't know. I don't like that whole 2 shots after each pump. I don't like that. The best shotgun to buy is that fucking IWI, the one with the cylindrical tube. What the hell is that thing called? It's not the DP-12. It's with the IWI something. That one's fire. That's actually semi-auto. Looks like a gun right out of Aliens. That one's fire. But all, the rest of them, you can have them. I just don't have fucking, $1,300 to fucking waste on a gun. Like, I just can't rationalize. I could get it, but it's like, do you really need it? But is it really about need? I'm like, I just literally haven't pulled the trigger, no pun intended, on that. Like, there's other shit that, I could do with $1,300 that, I'm like, I have a shotgun. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't like shooting shotguns. They fucking, you want to talk about something that kicks like a bitch. Yeah, shoot some fucking, some 2 3/4 inch slugs. Yeah, that'll hurt your shoulder. That'll knock you the fuck back, Grandmaster Jay. Yeah, that'll knock you the fuck back. But anyway, me farting my opinions and ideas and thoughts into the air. Another stream of consciousness. I'm waiting for Chick-fil-A to open up so I can get the delicious chicken sandwich. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. That's my video. SWP out.